Good morning.
Good morning and welcome to Media Pulse, the show where we help you make sense of Thai politics.
We offer you a weekly look at how the Thai media covers politics and more, right?
And more, and plus the background, the explanations, the stories behind it as well.
Okay.
Yes, and this morning we're starting the discussion with a very Thai thing, and we're talking about auspicious dates.
But in the bigger picture, it has certainly been another busy week, but less chaotic.
Yeah,
The good news is that we finally have a functioning government,
theoretically.
speaking, because the government of Kun Paetongtarn Shinawatra has yet to really, start working. And Monday should be their first day at work. And that brings us to the subject of how Thai politicians are so superstitious about when to start working, when to set foot in the government house or offices on the first day at work, right?
Yeah, it's not unusual for them to consult soothsayers or astrologers about the perfect date and the moment, even down to the seconds and minutes.
That's true because they believe that arriving at the most favorable moment in their offices will ensure that they receive blessings from unseen powers for a successful tenure. And that's why you talk about showing up for work exactly down to the minute and second. And that may mean showing up exactly at 1 minute to 10, or in Thai way, we would say 9:59 a.m. Because
Yeah.
9 is the one of the most auspicious numbers.
And some people are very superstitious about which foot they step in first, sometimes left or right. That depends on their astrology. Also, that includes our Prime Minister, Kun Paetongtarn.
It's true because it's very interesting as to how the Thai media, many of them anyway, paid so much attention on when Kun Paetongtarn would show up for work
Yes.
on her first day.
Yes, they
At
kept.
what time exactly would she be there?
Yeah, they kept a close eye on it. So initially, it was thought that she was gonna do the ceremony, the worshipping ceremony. So basically, before you step in and start working, they have a sacred worshipping ceremony of some sort, and they thought they were gonna do it on the 12th, but then it turned out to be on the 13th. But she actually admitted to the media that she did it once on the 12th.
That's right.
Unofficially.
In fact, she surprised everyone by quietly showing up at the government house very, very early in the morning at about 5:45 or something. And that was supposed to be another auspicious time,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And she was there with her husband and her daughter.
Family, yes,
All right.
yes, correct. And then the official one happened on the morning of Friday the 13th, which is contradictory to the Western belief that
That's
Friday
right.
the 13th is not lucky. And also, we have this headline that says she's going to start working officially on Monday the
On Monday,
16th.
Okay.
Yes.
Friday the 13th, showing up to pay respect to all the sacred objects, the sacred idols at the government house, which is a common practice for whoever is the new occupiers of the offices in the government house. Yeah.
Yeah, there are many statues as well. The one on the roof, and then the spirit houses,
That's right,
and all the
that's
rest
right.
of it. Yes, yes.
And that's not the end of the story yet, because it's very common for many Thai politicians even to bring their own objects of worship into their new offices.
I do have one on my desk.
The idea is to seek protection against any dark forces that might threaten their position. However, these precautions have often proven ineffective against real life, that is, political uncertainties.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Because, I'm sure many who have gone before have their sacred objects on the desk and then
Yeah.
they still not protected.
That's right.
Politics is always uncertain, isn't it?
Despite all the protection they were supposed to be getting, many of the new office holders are removed even before they start working.
Yeah, true. So, basically, we're going to have the Prime Minister entering the government house on the 16th officially as the first day for work. But before that, this week, we have the policy statement as
That's
well.
right. Yeah, right. It's one of the most watched events of the week anyway.
I thought it was very interesting. She used a lot of English
Yeah.
phrases in it.
I think there's something remarkable about it, that the fact that she sprinkled so many English words and phrases and terms in her 13-page policy statement.
Yeah, it's 13 pages, more than 40 English phrases.
Wow.
It's quite interesting. We do have a sound bite as well. Let's hear it. We do have 2 sound bites actually. Let's listen to the first one.
ประเทศไทยกำลังเผชิญความท้าทายจากสถานการณ์ภูมิรัฐศาสตร์ geopolitics การกีดกันทางการค้า protectionism รัฐบาลจะสร้างรายได้ใหม่ของรัฐด้วยการนำเศรษฐกิจนอกระบบ informal economy และเศรษฐกิจใต้ดิน underground economy เข้าสู่ระบบภาษีรัฐบาลจะส่งเสริมเศรษฐกิจสีเขียว green economy or eco-friendly economy รัฐบาลจะยึดมั่นในหลักนิติธรรม rule of law และความโปร่งใส transparency สร้างความชอบธรรมในการบริหารราชการแผ่นดิน
Yep, so that was the first part that I selected for this show.
Yes. This is not something usual compared to policy statements delivered by previous governments because the previous statements were entirely in Thai with very few English phrases or words. But this time around, I mean, so the big question is why did she have to do that?
Well, according to the source within the Pheu Thai party, this person says sometimes the English translations of those words and terms are easier to understand than their Thai counterparts.
Ah, that's
Is it true?
That's it. And there was one point when she talks about how Thailand will cooperate with international community. She said the country will be an active promoter of peace and common prosperity.
Yeah, we do have a soundbite for that one as well. Let's hear it.
รัฐบาลจะรักษาจุดยืนของการไม่เป็นส่วนหนึ่งของความขัดแย้งระหว่างประเทศ non-conflict และมุ่งมั่นที่จะทำงานร่วมกับนานาประเทศเพื่อส่งเสริมสันติภาพและความมั่งคั่งร่วมกัน active promoter of peace and common prosperity.
That's very interesting indeed.
But the uses of English is not the only thing that people are looking at because they also talk about how she deliver the policy statement.
The manner with which she delivered. I think most of the political commentators quoted by the Thai media seem to concur that there is little that is remarkable about the policy statement in terms of contents. Some even pointed out that many of the proposed initiatives she talked about in the statement were copied straight from what her father, former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra, had proposed earlier during a very, widely reported speech he gave last month. Remember that?
Yes, exactly. That's why we have this headline. This is actually one of the many headlines that talks about the linkage between what the father has initiated and what the daughter is doing. So the translation for this headline would be Prime Minister Yong takes 58 minutes to read policy statement. Father initiates, daughter implements. And at the bottom, it also talks about her catchphrase, which we'll come to in a bit later, actually. But people say she's very focused on reading
very,
it.
Very. One commentator even questions whether Kun Paetongtarn, the Prime Minister, truly understood what she was talking or discussing. Noting that, she seemed overly focused on reading from the script and lack any visible passion in her delivery. So that means that she was reading very intensely and may not understood what she was talking about. And that is a remark, a observation by one of the very critical commentator.
Well, it's public speaking takes time. Some people get very nervous when they go up on stage.
Yeah.
And that could be, her first time. So
she may have to be forgiven because this was her first time as Prime Minister to talk about a very important document, that is the policy statement.
And this is,
I'm sure that she did a lot of homework. She must have made a lot of preparations, but we understand the pressure she was under.
Yeah, the whole country on her shoulders now.
Okay.
And apart from this headline, we're going to talk about her catchphrase in her closing remarks in the policy statement.
And again, she may not intentionally made herself the subject of another round of ridicule by her critics.
I'm not sure why she uses that phrase, because this phrase was a meme before it even. Remember when she was rallying,
campaigning. The phrase is, well, we want to make Thai people well fed, well taken care of, with pride and honor. This may sound exciting when she was talking about this the first time on stage, right? When she was campaigning. But the problem is that after a year in office, the previous government, which is under the leadership of Kun Sethar Thavisin, failed to deliver practically every single campaign promise that the party made in the election campaign. And she is certainly, of course, as a party leader, I mean, people hold her responsible for the failures of the party to implement those promises.
Yeah, understandably, Thailand is still facing economic problems, unemployment, and debts, household debts as well. So it has become a meme of whether or not Thai people will see the day where they will be well fed and well taken care of.
But we have to listen to how she said it when she was on the campaign trail and compared to what she said in the chamber.
That's quite different. Yes, there's quite a marked difference as well. So apart from the catchphrase, we're going to take a look at two people, her circle, her inner circle now in the cabinet and at the office.
That's right.
So last week we talked about Kun Phumtham, who is now the Minister of Defense. Then during the special cabinet meeting on last Saturday, they appointed Dr. Phommin Suriyadet as the Secretary General to the Prime Minister.
That's right. Of course, that follows the appointment of Kun Phumtham, a former communist sympathizer, I would say that. I would describe him as that, as defense minister. And we talk about this in our last week's program, right?
Yes. They talk about, this headline talks about the power of October people, which we will explain in a little bit. And a focus on friends of Thaksin. So these are October people and they're friends of Mr. Thaksin.
The two were sort of comrades in arms when they fled into the jungle back in October 1976 to join the Communist Party of Thailand, which was then waging a war against the central government. And Kun Phommin on the left and Kun Phumtham on the right? And now they are among some of the most powerful figures in this current Paetongtarn government.
They have nicknames then, right? The former communist supporters like to have nicknames like Comrade and a nickname.
Kun Phumtham was known as Comrade Yai, Sahai Yai. And then Phommin as Sahai Jarat or Comrade Jarat.
Why could this potentially become a problem? Why is being a former communist supporter a problem?
So this is kind of a warning to Paetongtarn that her tenure as Prime Minister will not be a smooth sailing because she will be facing a lot of legal challenges. And one of the challenges came very, very early in her tenure.
Auspicious dates may help or may not help.
That's
in
right.
this case.
And the challenge, and the first challenge, legal challenge, came from none other than someone who has been dubbed a serial petitioner by the Thai media.
He filed a lot of petitions.
Serial petitioner. That is Kun Rungkai Leekitwattana, a member of Palang Pracharat Party of General Pravit Wongsuwan. Kun Rungkai wasted no time in filing a case against the young Prime Minister Kun Paetongtarn. And he filed the petition with the Election Commission. Rungkai was given the moniker of being a serial petitioner for his endless efforts to keep senior politicians and political office holders in check with petitions to either the Election Commission or the Constitutional Court.
Yeah, well, we don't really remember when was the first time he got into petitioning. But the first headline or the highlights that we have goes back to 2008. So that was when he successfully asked Constitutional Court to out Samak Suntarawet, the Prime Minister, then for hosting a TV show. So
that's
he
right.
had a Chimpai Bonpai, a cooking TV show, and that was in violation of the Constitution.
So he has a very good record in having people removed from offices.
Yes.
So in his petition filed with the Election Commission last week, Kun Ruang Krai requested it to consider asking the Constitutional Court to rule whether Prime Minister Paetongtarn should be disqualified for appointing Kun Phumtham as Defense Minister. He said that Kun Phumtham has a history of joining the Communist Party of Thailand, as we just mentioned,
Yes.
and the activity, according to Kun Ruang Krai, constituted an attempt to overthrow the country's system of democratic governance with the king as head of state. He questioned whether by appointing Kun Phumtham as defense minister, while knowing full well that he has this kind of record, Paetongtarn is still qualified as a political office holder with evident integrity as required by the constitution.
Yeah, so the problem basically links communism to being anti-institution.
Yeah, that's right. Kun Ruang Krai, of course, it was trying to draw a comparison with the case of Kun Sethar Thavisin, who was ousted as Prime Minister last month by the Constitutional Court, which ruled that he lacked evident integrity by appointing a lawyer of the Shinawatra family as a cabinet member, despite his record of conviction.
He actually served jail time as well. So that was, yeah. So why digging up the past to create a new round of conflicts? That was a quote from Kun Phumtham. So he acknowledges full well that he used to fled into the jungle and be a part of the communist supporters, but then he says that's all in the past.
Yeah, and he insisted that he has risen to his present position through due process. And he has done nothing wrong legally. And he also insists that even though he took to the jungles back in 1976, he did not believe in communism. That's very important, that he fled into the jungle simply because he was only escaping the hunt for suspected communists. There was a hunt for communists back then in the mid-70s. And Phumtham believed that he was one of those people being hunted down. So he said he had no choice but to flee into the jungle to take up arms with the Communist Party of Thailand.
But these are obviously not the only two that has done that. There are several other people within Mr. Thaksin's circle that did the same thing back in the 70s. Yeah.
And
so
since you mentioned Kun Prommin, right?
yes.
And Kun Prommin Rasuledet, another a very trusted aides of Kun Thaksin or Thaksin Shinawatra family. Kun Prommin was also himself a principal student activist like Kun Phumtham back in the early 70s. And he also fled to join the Communist Party of Thailand after the Thammasat massacre. And like Phumtham, Kun Prommin found refuge in the jungle in northeastern Thailand before deciding to return to the fold years later, like Kun Phumtham.
We do have a newspaper headline with pictures as well. So in this picture, the two of them were looking at old photos of them back when they were students. Anyway.
No, yeah. So both Phumtham and Prommin, both of them are 70, are known for their contribution to many of Thaksin's and now Pheu Thai's election strategies and political platforms. And of course, both of them have also, in return, have been richly rewarded.
That's why. So they got the position of defense minister, and Kun Prommin's got secretary general to the prime minister.
In fact, Kun Prommin used to serve as Kun Thaksin's secretary general when Kun Thaksin was prime minister. And now he is serving in the same position under Kun Thaksin's daughter. Paetongtarn.
Might be helpful to the current prime ministers since they've got experiences. But anyway, that was another petition,
Okay.
and the stories behind it. So in total, there are now 6 petitions against the prime minister, 8 against other ministers, and 4 against political parties. So the issues ranges from qualifications to ethical standards to asset holding.
Okay. But we still don't know for certain that how many of these cases will really hold water, or how the court will treat each, because it's very important that the court or the election commission look at all these cases individually and see whether there is grounds enough to really pursue any of them or not. Yeah.
So it's like handing in several petitions and see which ones will be accepted and considered, and becomes an issue afterwards. But by the way, apart from the appointment of cabinet ministers and all the rest of it, there's another petition that talks about the gesture that Kun Paetongtarn or the prime minister was doing during the group photo session in front of the government house.
Right. Of course, I believe that you still remember this picture, right? This, as you just mentioned, it was taken on the first day that Paetongtarn and members of the new cabinet were together at the government house for a photo session.
This one here.
And this seemingly harmless mini heart gesture by the prime minister, especially Prime Minister with Kun Phumtham by her side, has provided the same serial petitioner, Kun Ruang Klai, with another excuse to find fault with her.
See, he's very diligent. He's very diligent with his documents. So for those of you who don't really know what a mini heart is, I'm sure most people know, but it's not very well known. Like, it's not that famous in the Western world. Like, at least among my friends, they don't do it.
Okay.
But anyway, a mini heart is when you do this gesture, like putting your index and your thumb together to form a heart shape.
Okay. Ruang Klai doesn't really accuse Kun Paetongtarn of having done anything wrong or something wrong. He only asked the National Anti-Corruption Commission to look into whether the action, the mini heart gesture by Kun Paetongtarn, was a breach of professional ethics and in violation of the constitution or not. Just look into what I just read. I mean, that was Ruang Klai was telling the Anti-Corruption Commission.
So he believes,
No accusation, but just question.
just to look into it.
That means that he is very careful in raising this issue.
So I guess he believes that such a gesture is considered inappropriate when you're wearing the formal white uniform.
Because his reasoning is that it's a matter of propriety when you are wearing white uniform, which is designed for very important royal functions. Then you have to behave properly. And Ruang Klai believed that making this mini heart gesture is not something appropriate.
Well, I actually looked it up. And we do have this. I just took 2 pages from the website of the Office of the Prime Minister. There are no written rules with regards to whether or not you can do a mini heart or send any kind of gesture when you're wearing the formal white uniform. The document only says that which insignia goes where and how it should be worn and how it's different for different rankings and all the rest of it. It didn't mention anything about gesture, for sure. So
this is a kind of warning. In fact, the warning has been coming along for quite a while now, that Paetongtarn will be closely watched for every step she makes. Every single action she takes will be scrutinized. And what Ruang Klai has done so far is a very good sort of warning to her that she has to be extra careful with whatever actions that she takes or whatever she does from this point on.
Reminds me of a phrase from a famous movie, I think, I'm watching you.
Because if Ruang Klai is right and the Anti-Corruption Commission has grounds to pursue the case would be forwarded to the Supreme Court for deliberation. And if things really goes bad against her, she could face a lifetime ban
Yes.
from politics.
Yes. Also, there's a petition about political parties, and one of them is to look into the question of whether or not there's outside influence on the Pheu Thai party.
Yeah, it was Kun Varong Detkit Vikrom,
Yes.
an ultra loyalist and leader of the Thai Pakdi party, who petitioned the election commission to investigate whether Pheu Thai party, which is the core of the current coalition government, has been under undue influence of former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra or not.
And if found guilty, then the party can be dissolved.
Yeah. As we know, that Kun Thaksin has been busy pulling the strings from behind the party, right? And he's widely reported to be behind the attempts in forming this current coalition government. And he was the one who was said to have handpicked certain individuals to sit in cabinet seats. Yeah.
Right. Well, of course, all of this is something that we're keeping our eyes on. We're watching you. Because it's not just the developments, but the backgrounds and the story and the explanations behind it that will help people understand more about what goes on in Thai politics, basically.
All right. We leave it at that then.
Yes. Well, thank you for joining us, and we'll be back again next Saturday for Media Poll, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.